Welcome back to Cityline. With me, I have somebody who I spend a good amount of time with. And you're thinking, Amanda, who is this? I am talking about Andre Jimenez. He is the chair of the Tacoma Human Rights Commission, which is a commission that I sit on and is a commission that he leads. Andre, welcome to Cityline.
Thank you for having me, Amanda. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you here, my dear. I'm one of your biggest fans. So if people don't know that Tacoma has a human rights commission that serves our city, tell us, how does the Human Rights Commission do that?
Yeah, this is a question that I get a lot. Oftentimes people confuse us or conflate us with the Office of Equity and Human Rights, which has a very similar name. And we're staffed by their office, but the Human Rights Commission really acts as a bridge between the community and our council. So by charter, we are there to advise the City Council on issues regarding human rights. But we do so much more than that. That's just one pillar of our work. We also partner with other organizations, we organize around causes, and we advocate for change that our community is asking for.
Ooh, well, that last part really perked my ears, the advocating for change. So yes. If you're going to be a change agent, which this committee is, what are the visions and goals for the Human Rights Commission in 2022?
Yeah, so we are still in the process of visioning for this year, but there are three main areas that have really risen in our early conversations. Number one is police accountability. Tacoma is at a pivotal moment. We are welcoming a new police chief right around the second anniversary of the Manny Ellis murder. And so we really feel as a commission that we have a responsibility to make sure that there is not a return to normal, realizing that normal did not work for so many of us and were so dangerous for so many of us. The next one is housing. It's no surprise that housing is a huge problem in the city, both in securing affordable housing and accessing services for those who are experiencing houselessness. And lastly, public health. I think all of us have realized that public health is much more important than many of us thought 2 or 3 years ago. But even more beyond our physical health, we also want to prioritize our mental health and increase access to resources throughout our city.
Oh, so many things I want to expand upon, and I only have 10 minutes. I need you on for a whole hour. So you mentioned mental health, which makes me think about the pandemic. I mean, the pandemic is physical, but it's also mental. How has the Human Rights Commission supported our city's most vulnerable populations during this pandemic?
Yeah, you know, as has been said many times, the pandemic only served to magnify issues that we already knew were there. So mental health, we already knew that we had a crumbling safety net for so many of our most vulnerable population, and the pandemic has only served to add stress to that system. So in fact, this is going to be the focus of our next meeting, and we're employing a new strategy at the commission. We're going to use our study sessions to learn from community members and value them as subject matter experts. So during our study session, we're going to meet with a panel of community members who have had issues, problems, and successes accessing mental health care. And then in our business meeting, having a panel of mental health professionals who work within the system and seeing where they see gaps in the system. And comparing those two, we're going to advocate for some change in our mental health care services. But even beyond that, you know, in our advocating role and in our organizing role, we have really focused on providing services for those who are unhoused. So that has included working with the Tacoma Mutual Aid Collective, writing a letter advocating for hand washing stations and bathrooms for people experiencing houselessness, because, you know, when many of us were quarantined and many of us had the privilege of going to our homes, you know, a lot of services that people who are unhoused use, such as restaurants, libraries, public buildings, were closed as well. And so we wanted to make sure that they had access to services that they would normally have pre-lockdown.
Absolutely, boy, and I know that just from a citizen point of view,
Yeah.
to look at the most vulnerable populations and those who are unhoused, and to feel that frustration in my heart that am I doing enough?
Right.
It makes me feel wonderful that the Human Rights Commission is also seeing this as well. What else are they seeing in the sense of exciting projects that they're picking up this year that they're really jazzed about working on?
Yeah. So two come to mind. The first being the Black Lives Matter mural. Now, this has been a project that we have championed for the last 2 years, since summer of 2020. It was the seed started in the Racial Justice and Equity Committee on our commission. We partnered with the Tacoma Arts Commission, who had connections with the Art Museum, and we secured funding and selected an amazing artist who is going to be kicking off that mural this year. So that's one of our big projects that we're really excited about. But beyond that, we're excited to work with the city, specifically the Community Vitality and Safety Committee, on creating alternative solutions to the camping ban ordinance, realizing that camping bans only serve to criminalize poverty and don't address the root causes of these issues. And so in conversations with the mayor, we have been asked to help create alternative solutions so that we can make sure that every single member of our community has access to affordable, attainable housing solutions.
Oh, and I love that you mentioned, of course, Mayor Woodards, because as you said at the top of the show, this committee, this commission advises city council. So it's great that we've got those tight relationships. Andre, how did you get involved with the Human Rights Commission, and what motivates you to lead it before I ask how we join it?
Awesome. Yeah. So my story is one that's not unique to most Tacoma members. I was born and raised here. And just after graduating from Tacoma Community College, I began working at a nonprofit that I know you know well, Sound Outreach on Hilltop. Yes, and we offer free financial counseling to people in crisis, hoping to move them from stability to wellness. And at the time, I was working in communications, and it's really hard to describe for somebody who hasn't seen it, but people would come in every single day and you could just see the brokenness in their eyes. And they were just being churned through systems that we all knew weren't designed to help them. And so soon for me, planning fundraising events and writing donor emails just began to feel futile, like I wasn't doing enough. And so I was talking to one of my coworkers about wanting to do more. And she said that government only works if there are good people on the inside and good people on the outside holding them accountable. And she at the time was a human rights commissioner and said that there was an opening and recommended me to join. And so in the spirit of that, I recommend everyone that I come in contact to join the Human Rights Commission, because we really are the community's commission. If you look at the most pressing issues around our city, they are all tied to human rights and what we value. And so, yeah, and that's what motivates me to lead this commission, is we really are that bridge between the community and the council. And I'm also inspired by the commissioners that I serve with, you as vice chair of this commission. And we have so many amazing community members. We have a pastor, we have members from the faith community, members from nonprofits like Friends of the Children and Rainbow Center. We have people from the health department and who work in healthcare. So we really have a broad array of experiences and communities that we can draw from on the commission.
We do. And we have a beautiful, and I'm going to add this, and I know you would shake your head. We have a beautiful cross section in terms of the culture, in terms of demographic, in terms of LGBTQ. That commission looks like a human rights commission. And that's, of course, one of the reasons why I am so proud to be a second chair along with our Mason Culberson, who I love him to death. Let's talk about how you become a member of the Human Rights Commission and what the process is, because it's starting to come up again, isn't it?
It is, it is. So there are two main ways that you can get involved with the commission. So one is through the formal appointment process, and we have currently 5 positions open. So out of a 15-member commission, we have 5 spots open. So a really great opportunity to increase the communities that we represent. So you can go online to the city's website and apply through their process. The application deadline is February 1st, so coming up really quickly, but thankfully it's a very short application that just gauges your interest in this work. But beyond that, any member of the community can join one of our committees. So we have 4 standing committees: racial justice and equity, our housing task force, outreach and education, and policy and advocacy. So if any of those sound of interest to you, or you have any topics, causes, issues that you care deeply about, reach out to us, and we would love to invite you to one of our committee meetings and have you join as a community member.
Absolutely. Wow. The way that you said that is so incredible, because you get a chance to try us for free almost.
Yes.
I love that. So when we talk about making Tacoma a more safe and equitable Tacoma, how is the Human Rights Commission positioned to make this happen?
Yeah, like I said before, we really see ourselves as the community's commission, and we view our role in partnering, organizing, advocating, and advising as a bridge between 2 communities that often have trouble accessing each other. Those who are community members and often part of vulnerable populations, and our elected leaders, our council. And so we have spent a lot of time building deep relationships with our council members. We're really excited for the new council members that are coming on. One of them is a former Human Rights Commissioner, Councilmember Rumbaugh from District 2. And we're really excited to partner with them, but also deepen our connections to the community and really work as that bridge between our community members and the council.
Absolutely. I have to say, on a side note, this commission does not play. And not that any commissions play, but for people who are really wanting to dig in and have a burning passion and intensity to stand in the solution and to even start the solution, this is a commission you definitely want to look at. Speaking of that, because this commission has been around for years, what role is it playing in the recovery from the pandemic? Because obviously we're zooming from my kitchen into your place of work. So how do you make a difference when we're only doing this?
Exactly. We have all had to learn how to build a community in a 2D environment over the last couple of years. And so we view our role in the pandemic, again, as that bridge, making sure that people who don't have access to internet, who don't have access to housing, to access to work, that they still have a voice in our city, and that they still feel valued and like they belong here. And so we're trying, through our Outreach and Education Committee, we're trying a diversity of tactics to make sure that the most vulnerable among us are feeling heard, and that we are using them as subject matter experts to inform council on policies that directly affect them. And so we're doing everything from reaching out to them on foot when safe, inviting them to council, setting them up with areas that they can zoom into our sessions. Specifically, our next meeting that's focusing on mental health, we're making sure that they have access to join the meeting. And we really see our role in the recovery of the pandemic, making sure that those who are the most vulnerable, who often get overlooked in recovery efforts, are at the forefront of the council moving forward.
I love that. I want to say thank you to you, Andre. You are a very, very busy person. Also student body president of the UAWT. So it's not like you don't have a lot of things to do, my dear. Thank you so much for being here today. And also, just as a thank you from one commissioner to another, you are a breath of fresh air. You continue to carry the torch that was handed to you from some really amazing people. Michelle Lemons, J.R. Nobles, did I miss? And then we have so many great commissioners that we can't get on this phone call. So thank you to those commissioners as well. And of course, to those in the city. who make that liaison and that relationship really rich and tight. And of course, I'll see you sooner than later. And I want to have you back on every quarter so we can talk about what is the Human Rights Commission doing and how can we help.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Well, that wraps up another great segment of Cityline. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to be in your home. As we Zoom from my kitchen, we've given you a lot of great things to think about in this past hour. So before you go out there and get involved, make sure you're vaccinated, you're boosted, you have an appropriate mask, and you are also socially distancing from large crowds. And when you do all that, come on back. We'll be waiting for you right here at Cityline. Take care.
Tacoma is my home, from the pines to the dawn. Tacoma is my home, yeah, Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home, place I call my own. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah, Tacoma, that's my home. Oh, you're from Seattle, oh, you're from LA, oh, you're from Chicago, but Tacoma's where you'll stay. Oh, you're from Seattle, oh, you're from LA, oh, you're from Chicago, but Tacoma's where you'll stay, yeah. Tacoma